What's up everybody? Sam here with BFPGear.com, and today we're going to show you how to do some maintenance on your DLX Luxe IDOL. We're going to be taking the entire core out here, taking it apart, re-greasing all the O-rings, and we're going to show you how to do that. So with that said, we're just going to flip the camera around and pop the core out, show you how to do some maintenance on your Luxe IDOL. Okay, so we've got our Luxe IDOL here. Let's go ahead and pull that bolt system out first. Can be a little difficult. But once you get that bolt system out, all you're pretty much gonna need is just like some lubricant, microfiber cloth. I have tools here just in case, but you can usually take this entire core apart without the use of tools. So with that said, let's go ahead and start taking the core apart. I do like to start with the can here, and then if you have the older Luxe IDOLs, basically some of these parts are going to get stuck in this can, but with the newer ones, they all just kind of come out really easily. So I'm going to go ahead and push those out. So pretty much once you take this front can off, you're going to have your bolt, you're going to have your bolt guide, and then you've got this little prop shaft here, or shaft, whatever you want to call it. Then there's this middle joiner piece that just sits right here. And the nice thing about this joiner piece is that there's, it's actually threaded same way on both sides. So like if you're like, oh shoot, which way did I, put this thing on? It doesn't matter. Like you just put it back on and you'll be good to go. Then there's one last piece that's sitting in here, and that's going to be your shuttle. And the easiest way to get that out is to use this little shaft right here and just kind of push in and then just angle it. Boom, you can pull out the shuttle just like that. It comes out super easy, and then just pops right off. But basically, like the basic maintenance with the Luxe IDOL core, you're really only gonna need to take just these parts out. And that's gonna be that bolt guide, the can, and the bolt itself. But since we got everything here, since it all just kind of comes apart really easily, then real simple. And we're just gonna wipe off all of our old lubricant and just apply new lubricant. Really simple core to take apart. It's got a lot of similarities with other high-end markers out there. But you just do this, you keep up with that maintenance on your IDOL, and it's gonna shoot flawlessly. So let's just keep getting all this old lube that's just kind of caked on there. Let's just go ahead and keep getting all that off. I'm gonna even wipe off the 3 on the back part here. One quick note to make just like a little thing of the back cap just known is if you ever hear like the tiniest leak and it's coming from this like back cap, there is actually a couple of O-rings that sit inside of this red piece here. And it is kind of a pain in the butt to take apart, but you just put like a little bit of grease in there and then you're usually pretty much good to go. This is a common thing that happens if you constantly like move this piece to remove the bolt system up and down, because the lubricant on the inside will wear out and then those O-rings just don't seal properly. So if you ever do hear that tiny leak, you're gonna need to pop this little back cap off and then just re-grease those O-rings. We're not going to do that today because it is a little time consuming to do, just because it's such a pain in the butt to get in here and take all these screws out. But we're just doing the basic, bolt maintenance here. So let's go ahead and start lubricating some stuff, and I'll work backwards here. So we'll start with the back end of the core. So we've got our shuttle here, and we're just going to sit here and just grease up the O-rings a little bit. We don't need to like absolutely cake it in grease or lubricant or anything like that. Just a little bit on each O-ring. Nice like thin coating. So that way with the cold weather, it doesn't just get like stuck or something like that. I just like to put a little bit on my finger here and just kind of glide it around. And then this just pops right back into here. You can see it's just hollow there. All you do is just take it and you just push it back in. Now we don't have to worry about that part pretty much ever again. Now that part, the shuttle, you don't really need to lubricate like too much. Just if you get to a point where you're doing like a deep clean, you should definitely pop it out and just, you know, refresh those O-rings with a little bit of grease. But you probably have to do that maybe like, I'd say once every like 50,000 shots maybe, something like that. But the rest of these O-rings, they don't require too much. It's kind of the nice thing about it. But yeah, just basic upkeep with your paintball marker. It's gonna keep it shooting in tip-top condition. I figured I would do it with the Luxe IDOL here because I know some of these spool valve markers can be a little bit more prone to bolt stick. So we're just kind of getting ready and, you know, preparing to combat that in this colder weather that's coming up. This is the best way to do it. So, all right, let's get to the bolt guide here. And it's just super simple. Super simple. All right, so now we got that done. I'm actually gonna go ahead and put this joiner piece back in because we don't need to worry about this thing. So let's go ahead and screw that back on. And then this little shaft piece here just kind of pops into the bolt guide. And then you're just gonna basically pop this into place. And like I said, with those older Luxe models, when you're putting everything back together, typically the bolt guide here just kind of snaps into place into that joiner cam, but the newer models don't do that anymore. Basically, you're gonna use like the bolt can and the bolt to forcibly push these down. And then it just kind of basically just seals together like really well. With the bolt, there is this O-ring on the back where you see this little skirt that's got holes in it. You don't need to worry about the O-ring in front of it or even like this O-ring on the very tippity top of the bolt. This is just a bumper, and then that O-ring is just kind of there to make it so that there's less friction inside of your breech. And then it's also like one of the first things that makes contact with the ball in your stack as you're shooting the marker. And because you don't want just like metal to hit, you know, the bolt, and then if it hits it the right way, it's like, you know, you chop or break a ball or something like that. And I always like to put just a little bit of lubricant on the inside of the bolt because that will coat over that bolt guide. That's just a little trick that I like to do. And with the bolt can, there's just the one O-ring in there. And we just gotta get some lubricant behind it because we're gonna be pushing the bolt through. And that should coat that O-ring. And that O-ring's probably the most important one, I think. Just because once we push this bad boy through, boom, there we go. Yeah, see, we got some lubricant with it. And once you get some, like, once you push this through and you take some of that lubricant with you on the bolt, just kind of, you know, push the bolt forward and just kind of coat the whole thing in it, because that way when it moves, it's going to have very little friction as you're just shooting your marker. And then let's go ahead and put everything back, straighten that up, and then we just push down against that spring, and then you just thread everything together. Now the bolt system is back together, and now we just need to get these O-rings on the outer part of the core, and that's pretty much going to be it. Now, of course, when you do like a deep clean, deep maintenance, and you're taking the whole core apart, definitely get an air tank and check your work, which is what we're going to do right after this. But these bolt systems are just super easy to do maintenance on. So the back cap kind of gets in the way a little bit there. You're gonna get some grease on that back cap, unless you take the whole thing apart. But again, super simple bolt system, very easy to work on. I feel like all these high-end guns are just getting easier and easier to work on. And it's just been that way for probably say like the past, like, I don't know, 5-10 years. Everything's just easier to take out of the marker. O-rings are plentiful, easy peasy. Now that we got that all greased up, let's go ahead and install the core back into the marker. Just pops right in. And now we're gonna grab an air tank and we're gonna test our work. All right, so we have re-greased the core. We took it the whole bolt system apart, put it back together. It's popped into the marker here. I've got my air tank here. Let's just go ahead and gas up the Luxe. Let's check for leaks. Oh yeah, we're good to go. So last thing to do is, let's just go ahead and turn it on. Skip the screen. All right, let's go ahead and turn the eyes off. And moment of truth. Good to go. No leaks. We have successfully lubricated the core, and you're gonna be good to go. Especially out there in this colder weather where, you know, bolt stake is very apparent, happens pretty frequently. You don't want to be that guy that's out there trying to shoot your marker and, well, all you're hearing is like little poofs here and there. If you want to pick up something like the Luxe IDOL, or maybe some maintenance supplies like tools and lubricant, there is one place to go, and that's going to be BFPGear.com.